Good afternoon and welcome to this interview with Gulf Times.
Nice to meet you.
In a world where academic bragging continues to play a key part, even now, how far has Minerva University succeeded?
Well, I've always been a critic of the idea of university rankings, but people look at them. And it is something that is important to note that Minerva is the first university built after the 19th century that has attained a global #1 ranking. And that's never been done. And I think there's a message that is part of that. Forget the ranking itself, forget the implications, but the reality is that you can establish a brand new institution today, as we have, and beat Harvard, beat Stanford, beat Oxford, beat Cambridge, beat MIT, generate better outcomes for learners in employment, in entrepreneurship, in graduate school placements, simply by focusing on real education, as opposed to the idea of cramming for a test, passing it, and forgetting all about it. And ultimately, the reputation of universities in the future will be demonstrated by what their graduates are actually be able to accomplish, not what these bragging rights are of the past. And in a world of substance, real education will win out.
So you have succeeded in bringing about a change, a sort of radical revolutionary change.
Yes, that's exactly right.
So could you narrate a couple of student success stories?
Sure. I can give hundreds actually. And I'll give you a couple of examples,
Yes.
but I want to make it more illustrative. I'll give them examples as a broader reality. We have a student who graduated from Minerva in our first class. And because he was in a new educational environment and he learned so much, he realized that he had insights into how education should be that most professionals in education did not have. And so he co-founded an education fellowship program for entrepreneurs. And a couple of years ago, there's a conference in the United States called the ASU GSV conference, a very prominent education technology conference. And they have a competition where they rank the top 500 education tech startups. Well, it turns out that the winner that year and the runner-up were both entrepreneurs that were in his fellowship.
Oh.
Right? So here is not just an example of a student who goes out and does something, but who enables even more people to do it. I'll give you another example. Another student from his class was part of the launch team for Airbnb China after her first year at Minerva. And then she was very interested in venture capital. And so she became an associate part-time while studying at a venture capital firm her last 2 years. When she graduated, Airbnb was very excited that she was finally graduating. And they made her an offer to come into Airbnb right after college as a manager. And so she told the venture firm, hey, we also made her an offer to stay on. Said, look, I very much appreciate my time here, but Airbnb is going to make me a manager upon graduation. I'm going to go to Airbnb. And they said, no, we'll make you a partner. And today, only 4.5 years after she graduated, she is one of the world's most prominent venture capitalists that invests in the thesis of a new world order that's centered on the urban environment. And that is her specialty.
It's very inspiring.
And again, I can give you hundreds of examples like this. I just drew two random. One. The first graduate was from Spain. She is from China. Our students come from all over the world.
More than 100 nationalities.
More than 100 nationalities altogether.
How many students are there enrolled as of now?
So as of now, there are over 600 students enrolled, over 750 graduates so far. But far more importantly, the Minerva project, the organization that built Minerva University as a demonstration project to show the world what is possible, now has more than 4,000 students in its programs around the world through our partner institutions. And by next fall, we will have more than 8,000 students in our programs, and that will grow rapidly from there.
So 4,000 to 8,000, that's doubling.
Yes, yes.
That's great. So in a world which is being increasingly dominated by AI, both the good and bad of AI, where do you see Minerva University in it?
Absolutely. Well, the reality is that when I built Minerva University, when I architected it, constructed it, I made a fundamental mistake. I assumed that AI would be broadly commercially usable in 2013.
Okay. 2013.
Yes. And at the time, when I was first thinking about Minerva in 2010, 2011, the rage in education technology was known as adaptive learning. It was an AI machine learning approach that could congest and digest information, present it to students as was necessary, and modify what was presented based on how well a student performed. And there were a couple of companies that raised a lot of money and had really advanced and promising technologies in this arena, and I was completely bought in. And I said, well, we need a university that will be built, and the university system, on top of this new world. And so when I launched Minerva University in 2014, we started working with partners a few years later. The problem was the basis didn't exist.
You were 10 years ahead.
Right, exactly. And so finally, when ChatGPT finally showed up, now our students in our program finally understand, oh, this is why we're studying all of these things, and we're skipping all of the basic information. Of course, we need to know it, but the information is easily digestible by the machine, right? And what we need is higher order thinking skills to be able to determine what information makes sense, how to actually believe which kind of analysis. ChatGPT doesn't give you a perspective, right? You can tell ChatGPT, give me the argument for and the argument against. It'll give you an excellent argument for, argument against. You still have to decide which is the right one, right? And that is where at least this type of AI, a large language model, will never be able to do it. A large language model does not think, right? It analyzes, it condenses, it extrapolates, it creates all amazing things. It doesn't think.
Would this curtail the growth of rapid development of AI and all the unpredictable solutions it can offer? Would it actually curtail or promote human creativity?
Well, it depends how we use it. There is a scenario where the optimistic scenario, where technology is making output more efficient, where it is enabling human beings to think at higher and higher order levels of thinking, producing higher and higher quality work, and it becomes a boon for creativity. There's the pessimistic scenario, which is that AI can on its own generate an enormous amount of product of relatively above average quality, not extraordinary quality. And as we get flooded with above average quality material, it's good enough. We as a civilization become accustomed to it. We lower our standards. We settle. And all of a sudden, the premium that we today value for expertise, for insight, for wisdom, will be replaced by the good enough. I think you can tell by my description what side of the world I sit in. But I firmly believe that if we don't collectively, as a civilization, a global civilization, not a national one, not a regional one, but if we do not come together to value economically, culturally, societally, excellence, this idea of achieving extraordinary, which is our motto at Minerva, then we will be in great danger as a civilization to go down to a lowest common denominator. And that's not how humanity moves forward. That's how we move backwards.
Yeah, that's a great take on the future. How frequently are your partner rotation cities changed
We have never changed the rotation cities at Minerva yet.
over the past 10 years?
Over the past 10 years. It's always been the same one.
Same.
Now, initially, we thought, when I started Minerva, I thought there would be different rotational cities.
Yes.
But as reality set in and we looked at different options and we talked to our initial students, we decided, no, we should change them when we first launched them. But since the launch, they've been the same. I'm sure they will change in the future. Now the university is independent. It is run independently. We are now building new universities. We're building new programs with other universities to have Minerva offerings, this broader 4,000 plus student network. And I believe that we will be able to create better and better educational institutions using Minerva as that initial beacon, but moving even beyond that. And I'm very excited about that prospect.
So Minerva will be like an umbrella or a mothership organization.
Minerva, that's right. So the Minerva project is the umbrella.
Umbrella.
Minerva University is our first baby, our first instantiation. And we now have more than a dozen other Minerva programs that we have either launched or are building in 8 different countries around the world, from North and South America to Europe to the Middle East to East Asia.
So that's great. Wish you all the best, Ben.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much
Appreciate it.
for speaking to Kaplan.
Take care.
Thank you.
Pleasure.